Welcome back, everybody, to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BETSPERTS. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christenson, and joining me, as always, Mr. Andy Molitor. What did you think of the win game, Andy?
It was fun enough. Like, I was kinda hoping the Bills would win, and really, like, looking back at it, it's still, like, it was a very good game plan, but in the long run, like, it there's people, "Oh, like, yeah, they dominated the Bills." Like, man, if Dawson Knox catches that ball, like, you're expecting a guy who threw the ball 3 times to go down the length of the field and try to get. I mean, they were going the right way with the wind as far as getting a field goal to tie it, but it would have been very. I wanted, if nothing else, I wanted Buffalo to score just to see if they go for 2. I feel like they really, really probably should have and would have, just based on the last field goal they kicked that was blown all over the place was from the exact same yardage as an extra point is. So it's like they had the evidence already right in their hands saying, like, we can't make an extra point. Maybe we should just take the 2-pointer. Because that would have made the, if they would have gotten it, it would have made it very interesting. Either way, getting it or not, based on now the Patriots can win with a field goal, or the Patriots need to score a touchdown because they're down by 4. So I was kind of excited to see some late game antics. But in the long run, I think my Mac Jones tickets for rookie of the year didn't want to see him try to lead a drive when he hadn't thrown the ball at all
Yeah,
and was just leaning on Ramondre Stevenson and the gang. So I was fine with how it ended. It sucked. We took a second half over. It was not rewarded. First touchdown scores was dashed by a running back. I didn't. I think it went 1-2 in college basketball yesterday with a. Honestly, that total I felt like deserved a better fate. It was just a real slow start for an over that I had. And I didn't get much out of Elkhorn State. I was hoping for more, but go Mercer. They won, right, and I am right back in the saddle with a bunch of college basketball picks today. And football will be, we'll get to football again a couple days here, Thursday, and then 11 days now until bowl season. We're getting dangerously close to bowl
getting very
season.
close.
So I have not put these in at BetSperts yet. If you follow me there, I had meetings all morning. I did bet these. I'm getting close to. I'm gonna enter them for anybody else who follows me on there. But Florida Gulf Coast taking on the Florida A&M Rattlers. This is a under, despite the Rattlers running an extremely fast offense. They are very, very bad at shooting. Like, their average possession length is fast, but they miss a lot of shots. And really, from a Florida Gulf Coast standpoint, their pace is pretty normal. I feel like a lot of the, and I've had conversations with people about this, and I'd like your thoughts on this. Maybe when we get to the NBA, like, I feel like the better team often gets to control the pace. If you
Yeah,
have a fast team and a slow team, if the fast team is the better team, you're going to be playing a little faster. That's just how life goes. So I have this quite a bit off from the total that was put on the board. I think I'm closer to like 134. So under 139 and a half, that's getting moved a little. Second one is the Minutemen of Amherst taking on Northeastern. This is a very good offense. Their strength of schedule, I thought it was a little stinky, but I went and looked back. It's not horrible. It's average-ish. And their offense has been great. It's actually a top 50 offense by several measures. They shoot the three ball through, what are we at now? 9 games. They're shooting over 40% from three at this point in the year, which is fine by me against a team in Northeastern who really doesn't do a whole lot for me on offense. I'm not 100% sure why this line is where it is. Maybe I missed an injury or something, but again, I really don't make adjustments for injuries at this level of basketball. Like, there aren't players that are worth multiple points in most
right.
cases once you get below like high end basketball. CSUN stands for Cal State University at Northridge. The Matadors going hosting Boise State. Boise in a weird spot, heading from Boise down to California, and then they'll head back up to Boise to take on a weird swag school. Cal State's Northridge offense has been pretty rough. Bright spots have been maybe forcing some turnovers through steals. They make their bunnies at a high rate. I don't know why my numbers like them so much. I think partially just because Boise State doesn't hit their free throws, doesn't hit their threes, not really that good of an off. I shouldn't say it's not that good of an offense. compared to where they are relative to the rest of the market, they're ranked as a top 100 school. I don't think their offense is, in line with that. So taking the 13 points here, I have this under double digits. The next one is Fairleigh Dickinson, the Knights. Oh, if you saw a team the other day who had won a game. Fairleigh Dickinson hasn't won yet. They take on LaSalle. Hey, that's
My
is that you?
Explorers.
Yeah,
Indeed. I'm a
your
LaSalle alumni.
Explorers. So, like I mentioned,
Alumnus.
Fairleigh Dickinson not very good. Their offense is very very low. They do hit three pointers at a decent clip, but I think a lot of that comes with just constantly being down and taking a lot of them. And in general, their offense still isn't very good despite a decent three-point shooting barrage from them. I make this a little bit lower as LaSalle's offense, despite being a better team, is still pretty low in the rankings for me, and the pace is indicative of an under here. I have this closer to 140, and then two overs to close it. St. Louis, the Billikens, I bet them the other day to win. I believe it was the Boise State game. Um, they ended up winning that in overtime and covering. A bunch of people I knew were on that. St. Louis is a very good offense. I'm enamored with this offense. I'm surprised they didn't get it done against Birmingham the other day. And they are taking on Belmont. I have both of these paces pretty quick. And this total is a little higher. It's closing on 150, but I have it in the 150s. So quick pace, good shooting teams. I just need to avoid the lull. And again, both of these teams, decent-ish free throw. No, they're good. Actually, you know what? Both very good free throw shooting teams. That's how sometimes you lose an over late when somebody can't hit their bunnies, especially the young kids. So I will take that, and then Navy and George Mason, neither being a terribly prolific offense. Navy runs a very very slow pace. But again, they're technically the better team, but I have Navy and George Mason kind of on pace with each other. And I think just the basis of George Mason's offense should bring the Navy tempo up a little. They run a very slow tempo, but again, I'm starting to mess around with this a little as far as when you have two teams of very differing pace, what happens? I'm looking back at things and I make this 5, 6 points higher than the total. So those six for today looks like it's just continuing to be volume Andy when it
I
comes
like
to
it.
college basketball right now.
Good way to run through those deposit bonuses.
Yes, there we go. In the pros, I bet the same bet you did, and for different reasons. I'll tell you
Well,
mine
that's
after you
interesting.
tell me yours.
Well, to answer your question again about kind of pace, I think you're right. The better team tends to dictate pace, but it really is kind of like a coach by coach thing in the NBA.
Yeah,
Certain teams have no problem kind of playing, at the pace the other team does. There are certain teams that, will kind of take over and things. I think the Suns, again, are a good example. They really control the pace of the games they're in. So it's tough team by team, but I think you're right. Generally, the better team, and usually the home team, I find actually drives the pace of the game. But small
that's
slate
fair.
tonight in the association. It is a TNT Tuesday. There's no football tonight, so we actually get to watch basketball. Three games here, just kind of a messy slate. I'll actually start with the last game. Celtics at the Lakers there, -2.5. The Celtics have been playing much better basketball as of late. Thought maybe about an under there. Kind of lean Celtics, but it's too much up in the air right now in terms of, it looks like LeBron's going to play. It looks like Anthony Davis is going to play. And a fully loaded Lakers team again. Maybe I'll go back to the well with an under there, but just a tough spot. The first game, Nets at Mavericks. That game should be a lot of fun. Have to see if Luka Doncic is going to play. If he's in, it might be a good spot for the Mavericks there. But again, numbers right where they are. The bet that you did hit at, though, I like the Knicks tonight, -2.5. And, kind of came to this conclusion pretty late, about 30 minutes or so before showtime, honestly. I went back and forth on this a little bit. There's actually some twos out there if you want to go ahead and look. 2.5 is fine. Just a really nice spot for the Knicks tonight. You look at the Spurs as a 3-4, a back-to-back. The market really just loving the Spurs from a rating perspective, given some of the wins they've had over the last 5 or 6 games, beating teams like the Warriors, staying close with the Phoenix Suns in their last game. But overall, just the Knicks are a much better basketball team. And I think this is a nice spot for them to get a win over a team that I think is a little bit overrated. So a good sell high point on the Spurs, buy low spot on the Knicks. I'm happy to take the Knicks tonight. tonight. Again, -2, -2.5, even -3 looks fine.
I'm down. And I also bet the Knicks just because everybody in the chat said so. Like the NBA chat was it's like a Knicks census in there for sure. Like
Well,
a lot of people do, well,
you'll be surprised
en-
when you go back in. Looks like
enough.
DB and a spread are on the
Oh,
Spurs here, so we got a
they can
couple
have
guys going the
they
other
can
way.
have this. DB bets the Spurs 65 times a year. Always has, always will. He's still reliving the Kawhi glory days. So Nick census for me, at least what I read yesterday. So I bet it last night. I'm fine with that. I'm
Yeah,
on the Knicks. You're on the Knicks, and we're back to France with
indeed.
Angers
Got
with
one
Pete.
match that I believe is going on. Piquet, it
It's
looks like. Well, she's serving
delayed.
to stay alive, but she's still down a break here at a set in a second. So not looking so hot. But just a few matches. And again, this is one I talked about yesterday. This one starts shortly after the show, about 30, 35 minutes after we get done. Nina Stojanovic will be playing Kristina Mladenovic. And as I said yesterday, this would really be a big bet for me had she been playing tennis the last couple weeks. But it's been about a month since we've seen Nina, been about 2 months since we've seen her opponent, Kristina Mladenovic. It's indoor hard courts. Nina is the much better player. I have her favorite this match. So, plus anything looks good. There's some plus 110s, plus 115s out there. Keep poking around. Just looks like a really nice spot to back a better player who doesn't quite have the name recognition of her opponent. Again, both of them coming in cold, which is my only hesitation here, but just a really nice number on Stojanovic. So grab this. This will start in about 30, 45 minutes.
Speaking of, and I'm sorry, I really put the onus on you there. I put back-to-back segments where you had to give stuff out.
Yeah,
Don't
that's all
usually
right.
do that. We usually bounce back and forth. Handled with a plum, Alex. You really brought it there. Speaking of, again, starting in like an hour, the final match day of group play in the Champions League, and I've just been having fun betting these. The chat like prodded me into this the one day, and they went well. And then the next day, I bet a couple and went like 2-1. So I was pretty happy with that.
Got to
And
keep it
then
going.
I realized we're in like the dead rubber area. Anybody, and you know this, you bet enough tennis where you have Davis Cup, and it's the same kind of thing. Yes, we'll be looking at young boys tomorrow. There's more Champions League tomorrow. It'll be a packed show with football, soccer, tennis, and basketball tomorrow. But a couple Champions League bets, both in Group A. Not everything is completely decided, but some weirdness. Um, PSG over 3.5. I'm taking a big over here, kind of a goofy spot. So they have clinched the top spot. They are moving on to the knockout or whatever you call it. They have 12 points, or excuse me, the second spot. Man City has clinched this. So either way, the first and second spots are locked in. Man City and Paris Saint-Germain are moving on to the next round. Nothing can change that. So there are people expecting some reserves to come in, some maybe a weird lineup here. I haven't looked at the lineup yet. I know you might see a lot of the subs being used, but they kind of have good backups too. Like
Right.
this is a deep team, and they didn't have great results in league play the last couple times out, so they might push a little here to get their form back in. And Brugge, as I mentioned, the top two teams are locked in. How it works is the top two teams move on to the Champions League. The third team will move into Europa, which is like a secondary tournament. So the third and the fourth team are Brugge and Leipzig, and they're tied. So basically, I think it's going to come down to who can do better against a really good team who has nothing to play for today, which makes it interesting because we're betting both. So I expect Brugge to play hard because I think they have the advantage as far as I bet if you looked at odds and who makes Europa, they'd be favored. I'm sure somebody offers that. So looking at them to push PSG, looking at PSG to try to get their form back in play here, and this total is high, but I'm on the over anyway. And then, like I said, Man City with nothing to play for, taking them on the three-way anyway. They're just a lot better. And Leipzig doesn't have a manager. They fired their manager the other day. They
That's not
basically
good.
did, yeah. They just have like, he was an American. Like those Americans weren't meant to coach European soccer. Either way, they they don't have they have something to play for. They need to outperform what Brugge does against PSG to move into that spot. Right now, they don't have the tiebreaker. They're in the fourth spot. I still don't expect them to be able to do it without a manager. So, Man City, again, sometimes What are we Pep? Old Pep will just go for the kill here. It's more fun to just win these matches. Like you can say, like, oh, they don't mean anything. They still want to win these for some reason. Some of these managers are just bloodthirsty killers. So Man City -120,
And
and
it's
both
like
of
you
those
said about
start.
PSG. I mean, the backups for Man City are great, and those guys want some Champion League minutes. Like, this is a big competition for them. So, although they don't necessarily need to win, the guys that are coming in should be playing hard. I did want
Yeah,
to ask you, what do you think
literally
about
probably
Brugge,
the best team in the world.
right? What do you think about Brugge team total over 1.5 plus 250?
I know I looked at all the team totals too. I almost just played PSG over 2.5, but I felt like it's going to be a weird variance game. There's a lot of score. I'd like that better than a PSG team total over.
Yeah,
These are
those are
gonna
some high numbers
these are gonna
still.
fail spectacularly. I feel
Yeah,
like
two and a
now that
half minus
I've gotten some
122.
confidence in Champions League, I'm just dead. But no, I'm excited about these. And here's the thing: if they do well, what you do is you take this money. This is always gamble responsibly. This is very small units. This is recreational stuff I'm doing because it's Tuesday. There's nothing else. But there are a bunch of 3 o'clock games as well. Liverpool, Ajax, Dortmund, all those teams are taking on, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on because again, it is the final match day. So double check what the situations are. But I would, if this goes well, I would probably be rolling this money over, and I will. And if I play anything in the afternoon, I'll tweet it out. Or I think BetSperts, without even having updates yet, I think we have Champions League. I should enter this when
Ooh,
I enter my basketball. It's happening. I'm betting. I'm a soccer guy now. So
that's
with
gotta
that,
have something to fill the time.
despite that, I have a Pinnacle coffee cup. It's snowing out. It's cold here, and I inherited my wife's old Keurig, so it's coffee time all the time in the office
Ooh.
now. But I do encourage you, especially those of you in certain states like Louisiana, who have pre-registration options, and of course Tennessee, Indiana, Virginia, Colorado, New Jersey, Illinois. I'm not sure if I can name all the WinBet states anymore
Check.
to get yourself a WinBet account, you can still take advantage of the bet $1 win 100 promotion on basically betting on any bet you want. So take advantage of that. Links are in our Twitter at Brown Bag Bets. I'm Andy. He's Noops. For us and producer Dan and all of us here at BetSperts, we'll see you tomorrow.